I had a friend of mine that knew that I'd been dating for a while, and we just met each other in a situation, kind of a group of people that were gathered, and in passing, he made kind of a little funny comment. I think it was meant to be funny. I, I took it as a joke, but also began to examine it seriously because I think it reflected some things that maybe somebody of his stature needed to know. He'd been married for 46 years and hadn't really been out there. And so in passing, he goes, "Hey, Ken, what's the issue? What's the problem? The ocean's full of fish." And that was the comment. And we laughed and joked for a second. I went on my way and he went on his. But I thought about that. And I knew that there was more to it than that when it came to dating. I knew there was more to it. And so I began to look for a way to explain to him, if I ran into him again, or maybe to others, what it's like in the dating world. But I just couldn't put my finger on it until recently. And I decided not to fight his analogy. I decided, hey, look, let's take a look at dating as from the aspect of the ocean is full of fish, and let's take a look at what it's like to fish. So that first aspect, let's just take a look at the comment that the ocean is full of fish. And what is the ocean like? Well, the ocean has got sharks, it's got barracudas, it's got seaweed and kelp, it has crabs and shellfish, it's got minnows and mackerels, it's got driftwood, it's even got a few boots that have probably been tossed in and some old car parts. The ocean's full of a lot of things. But what we're looking for is a very special kind of fish. And really, when you think of the ocean in a larger sense, those kind of fish are very hard to come by. You just don't go off a dock and on your first casting, you expect to catch something that's just really rare or really exceptional or what everyone's looking for. It just doesn't happen that way. Sometimes even you have to go expend a bunch of money to travel to a certain spot where those kind of fish are. And that might be the way you take a look at the dating world. This whole concept of the ocean is full of fish is really kind of a naive way of looking at it. You might have to spend some money to put yourself out there and be aware that you might be fishing for a while until you catch what you want. Those special fish don't just come by every day. When we take a look at from the ocean and take a look at fishing now, I think we have to ask ourselves, why are we out here? Some people are out in the dating world because, they're single. Some people are widowed. I think those are valid categories to be out there. Some people maybe have been jilted by somebody else, might have been a long-term relationship, and they find themselves in an uncomfortable spot of having to be out there again looking for somebody special, hoping that they can have love again for the second time. Well, what happens if you're somebody who you were the one that pushed out somebody out of your life? Maybe it was a long-term relationship, but you got to the place where you felt like the fish stank and you could do a whole lot better, and your friends told you deserve something better, and then somebody else came along and said, hey, the ocean's full of fish, and so you're out here looking for something better than what you already had. I think there's two things to keep in mind in this regard. Number one is that you may say, Ken, that's none of your business why I'm out here. And I may say, okay, it's not. But be aware that the people that are going to be running across you, the people that you think you want to date, and they may possibly want to date you, or they're just looking at you because they're curious, they're going to be asking these questions. Why are you out here? What was your former relationship like? Why did you get divorced? How long you've been widowed? How long you've been single? There's all these questions that people are going to ask if they want to be a part of your life. And you need to be able to explain why you are out here. And I think that has to do with the second aspect, that I believe you're most likely going to catch someone who's like who you are. You're not going to be the kind of bait that is really just flashes and lures and really isn't somebody of substance. You're just trying to put on a front. I don't think you're going to catch somebody of character. Somebody of character is going to be looking for somebody like them, and you may not fit the bill. So I think you need to be aware that you're going to catch who you are, and in a positive sense, I think it's always good to improve yourself and to be the best person you can be, but possibly in a realistic sense, you need to be aware that these little aspects that maybe you're putting behind you and you think, I'm left that life and now I'm going to have this new great life, just realize people are going to be looking into your life and asking questions, direct questions about who you are and why they should date you and what kind of a future partner you're going to make. So we've decided that fishing is something we're going to do, but realize that there's people that really don't like to fish. They want a fish, but they really don't like the aspect of going through the fishing. I think really in reality, in the general world, there's really not a bunch of people that are really excited about fishing. I know the people that are just love it, but most of us would rather, go to the store and catch what we want rather than going through that whole process of fishing. And I bring that up because I've run into people that just feel like, I don't want to go through that process. I don't want to get on a match site or a dating site. I want it to be a whole lot easier than that. And so they feel like, God's going to drop somebody from the sky, or something's just going to wash up at the shore at their feet miraculously, or knock on their door someday, or maybe they're going to cross them in the supermarket. I know that those things happen, but they are extremely rare. So I think you need to look at putting yourself out there if you really want to find somebody. There's probably somebody looking for you that feels the same way, feels like the dating situation is a little uncomfortable for them, but they're looking for you, and if you're not there, they're not going to find you, even though they look for somebody of your character and who you are. And in the same token, if they don't put themselves out there and you finally go through the process of saying, yeah, okay, I'm going to date and post my picture and put myself into this dating website, if they don't show up, you're not going to find them either. So in this respect, just realize that the dating sites do take a little bit of money, and they do take a little effort to put yourself out. Probably a last thing regarding dating is you have to be aware of what is out there. If you're not used to this, you have to be aware that you have to be careful, that there's some really good people out there, but they are hard to find, and that there's people out there that maybe are hurt, maybe are just lonely, maybe they've been kicked out of a situation, maybe they're the people that kick somebody out of a situation, and maybe they're not being really honest about who they are. I think you just need to be aware of all that. So what are the takeaways regarding this aspect of the ocean being full of fish and regarding our fishing? I think the aspect, again, is to be careful. I think the aspect is also to ask yourself, why am I out here? Do I have something at home that really is better than I think? I think when you go through the effort of the dating process, you may begin to ask yourself, is what I had really, was it that bad? Or maybe should I put a little more work and effort into the relationship that I had? I contend, and I think it's very, very easy statistically to contend this, that your first marriage is the one that has the most chance of success and the most chance of potential. In that first relationship, there are the original people, they're the family and relatives that you joined yourself to, they're the kids that you have, there's the heritage that you have, there's the ability to develop character and work through situations rather than just giving up, and there's future generations that are counting on you to work that out. So when you think about why you're out there and what you're looking for, I'm just going to recommend to you that your first marriage is the one that is going to be the best and is going to have the most chance for success. Lastly, I just want to give a couple of examples. One is that my landlord she was talking about her and her husband, and she really liked the comment that he made. He told her, he said, look, he goes, there's things that we don't get along on, and there's things that we argue about, and there's some things that we really wish would change. But he said there's also some good parts, and there's really value in you and I being together, and really in a general overall sense, I really love you. So he said, he's in talking to her, he said, I don't want to trade in, even though it's got problems and there's situations that I don't, both of us don't like. I don't want to trade in what we have, which I know all the ins and outs about, for something that I don't know all the ins and outs about, and I don't really know what I'm getting. He said, I've got what I want. It's got problems to it, but he said, honey, he goes, I know you, and I know what our issues are, and I just don't want to trade that. I think that's a pretty wise statement. The second thing is, I think, is a true story. It's a gentleman that had a wife that made his coffee, got up and made the coffee, and she ironed his shirts, and she made sure when he went off to work that he had a lunch, and when he got home, dinner was prepared. And she was a homemaker for sure, but she made sure as much as she could on her end that she took care of his needs and the needs of the family. Well, later on, as time went by, he began to feel like, hey, she's really kind of boring, and I'm looking for somebody who's more worldly. And so sadly, he got rid of her. In the course of time, he found somebody more worldly and somebody more business-minded and somebody who was sharp and all this kind of stuff. And he got married to her. I think she was a real estate agent, just kind of a very sharp, outgoing person. But in the process of that, he began to realize that he didn't get the whole package of what he had before, plus this really sharp person. There was a trade-off there, kind of like my landlord and her husband saying there was a trade-off, and was it a good one? And so the way that came about is he was in the walk-in closet, and he was kind of moping around, and she came up, this new wife, and said, hey, what's wrong? And he goes, well, he said my former wife, she made the coffee and had that ready, and she had my shirts pressed, and she made sure dinner was ready when I got home. And he goes, I kind of miss those things. And her reply was, make your own damn coffee, send your shirts out to the laundry, and you just pick up whatever on the way home. You jump in and do it. I'm not doing that for you. That wasn't what he expected, but that's what he got. So realize when we think about dating, let's take a look at that ocean is full of fish thing. Just realize what really is in the ocean. Realize what you bring to the table. Realize that you're probably going to have to spend some money and spend some time. You might want to be somewhere else, but you're going to have to spend time and be out there fishing, possibly by yourself, while you could be having fun with other people. But just realize that's the process. Realize also that there's some stuff out there that you really don't want to catch, and that a really good quality fish is, maybe by some miracle you're going to catch it the first time you put your line in the water, but chances are not. So you're going to have to expend some time and effort into the process. So much for the ocean's full of fish. I do wish you luck in the process, though, and if you're the right person and you've got the right character qualities, again, I think you're going to find somebody who's just like you. Just be patient and hang on and wait. My name is Ken Conley. I'm the author of a book called The Forgotten Option. As in anything we present, we hope that this is helpful to you.